I can physically grow back hair the way I once had it when I was a kid, and just have that manifestation come. And I think
we need you to talk to this lovely counselor who just figured out how to help you in the acceptance of where you are.
Right.
And that feels backwards to most. No, that's not what I want. I don't want to accept this thing I don't want. I want something better than what I've got, and I'll accept that.
Right. And so I'm happy to dialogue with it until I'm in the perfect place of acceptance. I picked a subject that's very visual. I've got a handful of them, right? But this would be something that'd be like, wow, how'd that happen? You know?
We're going to be here a while. Well, were you listening earlier?
Oh, yeah.
And did it modify your question at all? Because there are children being born who are so clear about helping people understand the difficulty in identifying a desire and sort of, it falls into the subject of everything is two subjects, wanted and lack of wanted. What I want and the absence of what I want, and finding the vibration of what I want. So when you focus upon something where there is a manifestation that currently exists in the vibrational category of what I don't want, you just can't get there from there, because hitting it head on just increases momentum about that. So that's why we always distract from the subject.
Sure.
Choose some other subject until you've convinced yourself that you can be or do or have whatever you are wanting. It takes some very clear understanding of the laws of the universe and applications of them. But when you choose a subject where the evidence keeps pointing you toward a disc different than the one that you want, then you don't make any headway.
I feel like it's not something that I'm obsessed with or focusing on a daily basis. It's something I notice occasionally, and I feel like that desire was born from the contrast of noticing it. So I don't feel like I've got heavy resistance towards it. There's other things that I feel like I'm more resistance towards.
Well, we understand, and we appreciate the fact that you have a handful of subjects, and we also appreciate the fact, in other words, which is it, Abraham? If I'm a deliberate creator, then shouldn't I get to choose specific things that I want? And shouldn't I be able to deliberately move toward those in a measurable way? And we say, yes, of course. But what we are really discovering here in the hours that we've been together is that you have a much higher probability of getting what you want if you're off the subject of what you don't have about what you want than if you're on the subject. It really is the step 1, step 2, step 3 conversation all over again. So do you acknowledge that through those contrasting experiences, you say it's not a big thing, but you notice, you're feeling the awareness of it. Does it make sense to you that you've put those requests into a vortex?
Absolutely.
And where do you think that vortex is? In other words, is that a vortex that's high flying? Is it a vortex that's needy? Is it a vortex that feels good? Where does that request fall in the hierarchy of desires that you hold?
I think it's high flying. When I come to these workshops, these become my reminder of the things that I've been wanting for a long time that I haven't been taking score on and I haven't been focusing on, because I've been observing things that make me feel good, in appreciation, expanding, growing, being joyous, all of that stuff. But when a few years go by or something, and I notice it, not with huge amounts of resistance,
all right,
not with anger.
Don't keep talking, because that just keeps increasing momentum. In other words, that's the very thing that we're wanting to guide everyone away from, is conversation about unwanted things.
I just think it'd be an amazing, amazing thing to manifest something like that together in a chair, like this visual representation of something that, like the whole audience would be able to see, and then I can mark that feeling. Mostly I want to mark that feeling so that I can remember what it felt like to be in that kind of alignment and then go clean up each additional subject that I feel like have been desires for too long so I could have new desires come in.
We don't disagree with that, but there's something about the potency of the subject that you're focused upon that prevents that from happening. And in fact, everything that we've been talking about in all of the hours that we've been together is about finding some way to distract yourself from the awareness of something that isn't the way you want it to be. You have to get off that subject.
Okay.
That's the thing that is the tripping point for most people. They set a goal and then they fixate on what they think is the goal, but they're actually fixated upon what is actually the absence of the goal. And so they hold themselves in a holding pattern that does not allow it. And so you're saying, well, I'm willing to dialogue, but you're not willing to come with us because each time we begin to go there, you bring us right back there. And it's all right, but you are presenting a sort of, you don't mean to, conditional response. In other words, let's do this together. Isn't that what the demand for miracles is always all about? Give me a reason to believe. And this is what we were having, the conversation that we were having just before, is that if you realize what you're reaching for, which is the feeling place rather than the manifestation, it's the feeling place that is the alignment, then the manifestations must follow. And they will follow through the path of least resistance. Always, every time. So we're happy to have the dialogue. You start and we'll just guide it.
Okay. And that subject's fine?
Certainly, any subject is fine.
I was born with an amazing, thick, full head of hair that felt great, and I enjoyed it. It feels complete to have that. I feel young. I feel vital. I feel like having that is part of vitality. I enjoy how I feel and how I...
It's evidence of something I want.
It's evidence of something that I want. Mm-hmm. And it felt
and
part of me.
And do I have to have the evidence before I have it? Does the evidence have to come? Is there a way for you to feel all of those things with or without that manifestation?
Yeah.
Is there a way for you to feel those things with or without that manifestation? Because that's where the power is. So go there. Go there. My vitality, my youthfulness, my well-being is evidenced by...
Well, it's not really tied to my hair, but it feels good. It feels confident. It feels young. It feels normal. What I would consider normalcy to be.
But you're still hung up on that. We can feel what you're reaching for. Mm-hmm. We want you to identify those feelings and shore them up without the need for this miraculous recovery. Is there anything else in your life that feels vital and alive and young and free?
Sure. Absolutely.
We would like to hear about some of that.
Okay.
Because in practicing that vibration, it'll be easy for you to do because there's nothing pulling in opposition to it.
Sure.
And you'll shore up that vibration until more chronically you're there. And then the vortex will deliver to you everything that you think is a good idea that represents that once you get there. Did you follow that?
Okay. Okay. I can walk down these stairs on my hands. I can lift my foot so far, but I feel I'm very flexible and vital. I have such control of my body that I'm able to do things that I never dreamed possible before. I'm somewhat of an acrobat and have an unusual talent for that. And so when I'm like that, I feel so free and powerful and capable.
Can you feel that this conversation is practicing the vibration that is at the basis of everything you want that reflects that? It's not off the subject. It's on the vibrational subject. It's right on the vibrational subject. But in this conversation, there's nothing pulling against it. So in this conversation, momentum gets going. Momentum gets going that will sweep up everything that you want within it.
There's a thought. I know I have to say this carefully, but it's like, how much well-being and happiness and joy in conversations like this do I need to have for how many days, months, or years before I see something shift that I've been wanting in my business or in my talent, like even with what I described.
Far less than you think, because you don't go there easily.
I don't go there easily?
Far less than you think, because your attention to detail, your specific attention to detail and your efforting about it holds you in a chronic disallowance of what you want on some of those finer points. So we guided you, and it took a little bit of time, but you came round to it. And as you began expressing it, you expressed it fully. And if you could maintain that for a little bit of time, you would begin noticing the results, because you've already put your request in the vortex. You just haven't found vibrational alignment with that vortex. You keep finding vibrational alignment with some other one, you see.
What would you call that other one? What would you call that chronic, that emotion that you see me come back to? Is it
doubt?
Okay.
Disbelief. The evidence is so compelling. Evidence is so compelling. Why should these parents of these autistic children, why should they even dare to feel happy when their kids are like that? How dare they find a vibration of joy under those conditions? And yet it is possible, and they'll like it when they find it, and the results will be extraordinary. It's the cart before the horse thing, isn't it?
What happens when you have a desire that is so strong, and I feel so inspired by it, drawn to it?
Do you know you wouldn't know the desire was strong if you weren't resisting it? It just feels like the next logical step. What are you doing? The stronger you acknowledge your desire is, it's usually the resistance that you're explaining, because once momentum gets going in the direction of your desire, you're just swept by it, and it feels like ease. It doesn't feel like effort or trying, because it isn't. It feels like going with the flow right down the path of least resistance to the results and culminations that you have been asking for.
There's times when I do what I love, and I have access to doing what I love. So I'll just say it's dancing, performing, moving, acrobatics, that sort of thing. And in the midst of that, which I feel, so that's my passion, boom, backache, a neck tweak, something keeps me from being able to feel like I can walk normally for a little while. And then I just try and let it go and come back to what I love and soothe myself. And what it feels to me is like, my desire is to perform, to do this, to express myself this way, and my body's saying, I'm actually going to show you something else. And I don't know someone who's more aware, and I don't want to say cautious and careful, because I know that's kind of like, don't want to get hurt. But conscious and awake. I don't throw myself around and beat myself up and then wonder why I have pain coming. You know, I try to blend the two of like being free with it.
Perfect.
And yet regularly, each time I start to move towards, say, a level of performance that I want, something happens in my body where I need to go see a chiropractor. I have to go have an adjustment. And I'm not understanding that's why I say, if the desire is that strong, I'm doing what I love, I want to do it, how could I possibly be manifesting pains that are keeping me from even reaching what I would think would be the next level?
Such good words. You see, as you take that literal presentation that you just explained, and everyone heard it, they all relate to it also, and you guide it toward an energetic conversation. As you reach into those faster moving vibrations and you're not quite up to speed with them, sometimes you get beat up a little bit. That's what's happened to Esther's voice. In other words, high-flying vibration, really high-flying vibration. Yeah. So you just keep reaching for it and adjusting and reaching for it and adjusting and reaching for it and adjusting. And it's really about loving yourself, soothing yourself, not feeling bad, not feeling any condemnation. Our favorite thing that we heard from you in all that you've presented in both conversations was, I'm not cautious, but I'm careful. It's not even careful. I'm aware. I care about my body. That loving attention to yourself is a really good thing. We want you to all of you, to try to apply that same loving attention to your vibration.